Built this empire from the ground, never backing down, never bound. Two hearts, one vision, we stay true. In the thick of it, in the Phipps of it.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
Last episode, we talked a lot about kind of our initial journey into entrepreneurship and life together.
Yeah.
So we get to explore that a little bit more and some key, I think, points in time and lessons learned
Yeah.
would be a good place to go next.
Yeah. So where we left off, we had decided we had starting a record label, famous, still existence, artist management, development, all that fun stuff. We had our son Aiden, first of two kids. We were moving. We were building infills in Calgary.
Yeah.
You were getting your real estate career as a realtor, getting that career going. You were finding the properties for us to build. We built three or four.
I think it was like 5.
Yeah.
Over
a couple years. Yeah. My memory is slightly buried, partly because our son didn't allow us to sleep. And then, so yeah, that's kind of where we left off. That's where we were at. Now we're a young family, one young kid. We knew, or we were told by the doctors it would be difficult to have. And so then there was a decision about having a second child after that. We were doing some infills. I was finishing up this education, met some artists, one in particular that I felt had real potential, and so started that business as well. And then, yeah, that's where we left off.
Kind of thinking back, I think it'd be good to sort of talk a little bit about when you're just starting something brand new.
Yeah.
And everything is foreign. Everything is literally uncomfortable and the unknown. I hear from, people that are later in their careers than us that they kind of miss that initial excitement. The
yeah.
The energy that there is around the unknown, and they're like, am I gonna succeed or am I gonna crash and burn?
Yeah.
Because there is definitely that time where it's like, okay, it's go time, and am I going to be able to actually support my family doing this? Am I actually able to pay the bills?
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to do the basics? Never mind succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting reflection of people later on in their careers and looking back of that is the time.
Yeah.
That is the time that you look back on and have learned a lot of incredible lessons. But putting yourself out there over and over and over again is really what it's all about.
Yeah, and that, there is certain level of excitement with it. I mean, people talk about this all the time, that first step, stepping off the ledge, taking the at that time especially, I would argue could almost be a sociopathic level of risk on, where I had no problem stepping off the ledge to the point of maybe I should look a little bit first, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the lessons learned, right? We found that quickly. But I didn't have enough fear, maybe. But if I had...
Well, I had the fear.
Yeah, certainly. Thank fucking God.
Yeah.
But, you learn a little bit of that, but you still have to be able to take the step. That's the balance, right?
Yes, absolutely. And hear the no's.
And a level of unearned confidence that, if I didn't know it, I could figure it out. And most of that was proven true in hindsight. But then you got to build relationships. You got to do all these other things that when you're stepping into a new space, and the music business especially. I mean, could go on for days about that business as a whole. It's very emotionally driven, relationship driven. There's all sorts of, one of my favorite sayings about it is that it's a business full of crooks, thieves, and criminals, and then there's the bad ones. And it's because it's so emotionally driven, and it's such a people that are trying to make a career in it. They're putting their art forward, and they're so connected to that art that it's easy to take advantage of. It's easy to sell people a hoop dream, and I really did not want to be that way, and I was hopeful that it could be different. And looking back, I think I made decisions always with that mindset. That was good. But it was
That's
very
also
unknown.
Still the,
Yeah, and it's still a challenge, and it's always going to be a challenge.
Well, and so my sort of inner dialogue is always like, I have to earn that level of respect, or earn that opportunity. I have to earn, and it took a long time to sort of keep elevating what I believed I was worth, or what I believed I could, achieve. And there's nothing wrong with kind of like knowing your place in a situation a little bit. Like if you're surrounded by people that know a whole lot more than you do, that is the best place to be.
The best, always.
The absolute best place to be. And I really made a point of trying to find those, circles and those people to try to absorb as much as I possibly could. But looking back, I probably could have gave myself more credit sooner. And I'm working on that now.
Yes.
And I have been, taking that in a lot more in the last few years. But it took me a long time to sort of like really own that and be like, I have done this, I have achieved this, and know that like I've done some pretty incredible things. But it was more building up that confidence to even accept that for myself.
I think that over our discussions, we'll touch on different things where perhaps the male-female experience is slightly different.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we're the same on is we always want to be the dumbest person in the room whenever possible, or least experienced, or whatever verb you want to use that's kinder. But that's something that we both thrive on, and always want to push being surrounded by people that understand more and can learn from. But what's perhaps a little different between the male and female experience, I just said it, I had an unearned confidence.
Yeah.
And I think that can sometimes be more of a male trait. Like seeing it out there, there's a lot of men that are very confident, and they're loudly confident.
Yeah.
And really do not deserve to be, and really don't know all the time necessarily.
Yeah.
The confidence does not match the communication or the experience or what they're putting forward.
Right.
Where I think, and this of course is not a hard and fast rule across all men and all women, but I think often women are put in a social influenced situation where the feeling is like what you're talking about, that you have to earn it more, and it's not as naturally given, and it's not as naturally space provided, and then the not giving yourself enough credit is more of the social pressure. Once again, I'm not saying for everybody and all times, but it is, and something we've been able to experience between the two of us, and seen it in our kids, and seen it in our business relationships and discussions. I mean, to this day, we'll go into a room and people will come talk to me first. And I'll be like, I don't know why you're talking to me. That's the boss there. Like, in these different, and it happens all the time. It's reflexive. It's something that I'm very, I really have a lot of energy to push back the other way. For you, especially because you're my wife, my partner, my best friend, all that stuff. But also just if you take a step back and purely just from a, if you really want things to be equal and equality, it starts from the same zero, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. It just doesn't. And that was when we really started to see it more. And especially when you start looking back, you can see more of those differences. The bluster that allowed me to be so fearless in taking that first step might not have been the same in different seat.
Well, and for me and for I'm sure other women, being underestimated can be a tool. Yeah. It can drive you. It can fuel you. Is it fair? No, but that's life. And we see it with our kids. Like they've the same household, same parents, same schools, and very different experiences in terms of how they're interpreting the world and and the issues our daughter has had to deal with, despite being 2 years younger than our son, is much more impactful and shakes her confidence.
Yes.
And makes her question, this inner dialogue of doing everything perfectly, making sure you're answering everything perfectly, and having the perfect answer, and appearing the right way in every situation, whereas like our son kind of is the complete opposite.
Yeah, he's not
he's
worried
just
about
like he's you know he doesn't even, I don't even think that crosses his mind very often.
Yeah.
So those things, as you grow up, you know,
Yeah.
and I was the same way as a kid of wanting to do everything perfectly well
Yeah.
and do a good job for my parents too. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to, you know, do well, and that perfectionism, people pleasing, that's a very dangerous place to get to
Yes.
as well if you don't start taking control of it
Yeah.
as you like grow up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a certain measure of that is a personality trait in the person, and then there's a certain amount of that is a societal pressure, a societal positioning, a different playing field. Like you have to think of safety in a completely different way than I do.
Yeah.
And our kids have to. And I think when there's all these like, you know, things about being equal and what equality is, like that will never be equal. And that's okay. It's understanding it and then working within those frameworks.
Yeah.
But like I said last episode, like nothing is always going to be completely 50-50. And it comes to
No.
things like that. There's just differences that
the
you
world.
have to deal with than what I have to deal with and
Yes.
vice versa. And that's what we, like, it's not always okay that it's like that, but it kind of is like that. So then it's how do you make those decisions based on that? And then how do we treat each other to fit within that? So we can't necessarily control all of society, but we can control how we treat each other, how we judge each other's actions and their decisions, and then how we represent that for our kids, and hopefully do whatever we can to balance that score a little bit for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and finding your advantages in those things. Like there's disadvantages on both sides, but how can you focus on the advantage that you have rather
Yeah.
than what you don't have?
Yeah.
Because there is advantages to being underestimated. And
Absolutely.
there, you know,
Yeah.
there is a different level of, you know, the way you might approach situations, knowing that you're being underestimated at times.
100%, yeah. And I was given one of the multitude of therapists I've seen over my life spoke to everyone gets dealt a hand of cards, right? You get your good cards and your bad cards, but you get your cards no matter what. Whoever you
Right.
are, you have your cards. So then it's up to you how you play those cards.
Yeah.
So while I can't entirely understand what it's like to be you, and vice versa to an nth degree, you can go, okay, these are the cards I've got. Now I get to decide how I play them. I get to decide how I respond within the framework of what, you know, the expectations are or not, or if I'm being estimated or overestimated or whatever it might be. And then by doing that, I think you naturally create a more true equality. Like people look at you now like an effective business person, not, oh, she's good for a woman. Like
Right.
that's a thing. It's like, and that can be frustrating. It's like, oh, you're doing great for a
Well,
woman.
and I've been the token woman.
Yeah, hey, you have
I've been
absolutely.
at places like, we need a female.
Yeah, we need a woman here.
We need a
Oh,
woman.
Natasha's smart.
Like,
Get her
we've
over
had,
here.
We've had,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
We've had several guys being interviewed. We need a female.
Yeah, we
right?
need to balance
That's
the
come up
table.
many
Yeah,
times.
absolutely. Yep.
And so it's like and I can take that two ways. One is like it's annoying that
Yeah.
I'm not just like getting the opportunity because I earned it.
Yeah.
Or am I getting an opportunity just because, you know, I'm a woman? And it's not that black and white
No,
either,
no.
because they wouldn't just give you the opportunity, you know, if you couldn't probably fulfill what they're looking for. But that also doesn't negate that they thought about maybe the men first.
Yes.
In those situations.
Yeah, it's
And
reflexive.
there's-
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind
maybe
of
that way, yeah.
reflexive,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and then that's how you've been able to sort of break that mold from what I've seen, and it's always going to be there to a degree, and the world is going to be what it is. But like I see now, people don't drop that like, oh, for a woman nearly to the
Yes,
same degree
exactly.
as anymore. And
Well, and
the
I
landscape's
believe it
changed
more
and
though.
things.
Too.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I believe I've earned it more.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Well, just the fact that you even have to say that
But that's
is,
tr- but yeah.
I know it's crazy, but it's true that
It's
you
true,
feel like
yeah.
you have to say that. Where
Yeah.
you go interview 100 men, I don't think a single one of them
Would say that.
would say that. Now
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
maybe one or two, just the odds of whatever. But I think as a whole, that's just not a thing that crosses most men's mind.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole dialogue and whatever around equality and what that means and how it fits and you know, you add your Aboriginal and your experiences with that, and with your family and with your grandmother and all that other stuff. There's so many different like nuances around equality.
Yeah.
And our belief has always been, I believe, is like, if we're both starting from zero, that's the goal. Like, whatever I say to you and however I pass judgment on you, it's not for any of those things. It's just directly to you. But that's just not the way the world
No.
works, right?
No.
So then you kind of start playing within that sandbox. And so here we are. We got a young family now. Same feedback on for our second kid. Oh, you're gonna have all kinds of problems. You better start now. You may not be able to have another child. And
Well, because we had a C-section with Aiden, so
Yeah.
they were able to see internally
Yeah.
the damage with
Yes.
the endometriosis and stuff. And they basically said I wouldn't be able to have another kid.
yeah,
That's kind of what
basically.
we were told. So we're like, well, then we'll just.
We'll just try and see what happens, and then same thing.
We got
Pretty well pregnant right away.
Yeah, that was a miracle.
A
really,
miracle.
because
Yeah,
that-
our second child, Brinley, yeah, it was a miracle, and we're both. Neither of us have a 9-to-5 job. Neither of us are.
Yeah.
We have projects and we're working and we're doing things, and we have assets that are supporting these more crazy adventures. But it was not a regular stable paycheck. Now we have 2 young kids
definitely
and no.
But we had
real-
assets.
We had assets. Yeah,
We had
exactly. That's what I
assets.
said. Yeah. And the assets were the key. They allowed us to do those things. And once again, maybe
Yeah.
if we had better understanding of how to use those assets that we have now, we would have made different decisions. But that's part of the process.
Yeah.
And so because you had a C-section, Brinley was a planned C-section. So we knew exactly when she was going to be born. We knew the day and the time. And that was a very challenging period. I know it was there was a lot of uncertainty even through the whole process, and then knowing what's coming. And I remember the day she was born. I remember I'm not a religious person by any stretch of the matter imagination, but I remember sitting there going, happy, healthy, I will do good. And like sitting there while you get taken away, so to speak, sitting in this room kind of just listening to people that are in there just doing their own thing, and then you go in and there's this. I can only imagine from what you're dealing
Oh
with.
my God,
like
C-section is so. It's like you're frozen, but you can feel everything still.
yeah,
It's and so many people and everything is busy and loud and then there
Yeah.
wasn't. It didn't go well
it
when
didn't.
she came out.
Yes,
So
she,
that was
yeah,
really terrifying.
yes, that was the scariest. So she was having all kinds of trouble breathing.
Yeah, her chest was like. She
Yeah,
was
like her
working
belly
really
button
hard
was
to
touching
try to,
her spine. Like
Yeah,
it was
just-
like it
she
was
was, like, gasping.
Gasping. Like
Like
one
the air
of the,
wasn't going in.
For sure, one of the scariest things I've seen. And then
Yeah.
they're going, okay, this baby's struggling to live, and mom's just had a very invasive surgery.
Yeah.
And they're going, one's going this way, one's going that way.
Yeah.
And of course, as a dad, you're going.
Well,
you're
I told
staying
you to
with
go with
you stay
her,
with
yeah.
Brinley, obviously, but you're still torn, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so that was you have core memories, right?
Yeah.
That's one that, like,
one of
even if I
them.
lose my marbles, which odds on one day I probably will,
say that.
that's one of those moments that will,
Yeah.
stick with you.
Well, and they were both kind of traumatic sort of births and entry into the world. But her, we thought we have this planned. It'll be more
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
control. And no, that's just not how it goes, right?
Yeah, right. Like Aiden, you were in labor for 28 hours.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was a totally different sort of process, and then still ended up having to have a C-section. So
Yes.
So
yeah.
Brinley was much quicker, which was also it was very
Yeah, it was
like just
really
a
fast.
whirlwind,
Yeah.
and then thankfully a few days in the hospital she was able to stabilize. Afterwards, they sort of told us that can happen sometimes with C-sections.
C-section. Yeah, I think there
Because
was fluid and things.
Yeah, and a
yeah.
number of things, but you don't know that at the time, and even if you do, what you're seeing doesn't align with anything
No,
logically.
it was terrifying.
Yeah,
it was terrifying.
So I often will say afterwards that, talking about masculinity, like you ask men, well, when you become a man, and there's all kinds of gross shit around men becoming a man when it has to do with sex or whatever else, or being a parent or whatever. And I would say, even though it was our second child, that was probably the day I felt more like an adult.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Now you're responsible.
Yeah,
for all
yeah.
this.
And I mean, I don't know what that says about me with a 2-year-old at home, but I think it was just more clear because of how difficult that situation was.
Well, and do you think there was any difference with like being a girl for you as a dad, or did that?
More after, yes,
Yeah,
like
more.
as in the weeks and months and things to come,
Yeah.
for sure. And it's a different experience. Whatever anybody says, it's a different relationship with
Yeah.
each. Like, there's different things that you're communicating around and over and seeing and what have you. So especially over time, that's definitely, I would say. But that day I think it was probably more just the trauma of it and feeling
Helpless.
and even starting to like the woo-woo of things. I mean, we'll talk about that as well, like the woo-woo, woo-woo shit, energy, connectivity, these things, unexplainable things. Like I said, I'm not religious, but for whatever reason, I had that overwhelming need to like say a prayer of sorts, So I think you put those things together, and it's, especially in hindsight, it's very like, that would be, okay, like, I'm an adult now or whatever.
Yeah, we're grown up now.
Yeah. I know.
We're here.
Even
Yeah.
to this day, is it
Isn't that a funny thing? If we talk about
12 years later now?
Look around for
Over
the
12
adult.
years later now, and still sometimes people come to me, like I coach kids, and then somebody asks me a question, and the head coach,
you're
I'm
the
looking
one in
around like,
charge.
who's, what? Oh shit, they're talking to me. Like, I don't think that leaves the human experience at all entirely, but that was, and then now we have 2 kids and fledgling careers, and we each have our own entrepreneurial journeys. We're working with your dad on these infills and 2 young kids at home, and no security outside of our assets.
Yeah.
To say, there was no safe landing. Our families were extremely supportive.
Of course,
And
yes.
the family is a huge thing. Never under value that from both of our parents was extremely
Definitely.
supportive, and helped a ton. But it wasn't like we were just, okay, well, I'm back to work and kind of carrying on. And it was just, all right, it's going to make this work. We'll see what happens, right? And being in sales, being a realtor, like, it's an ebb and flow at the best of times, right?
Yeah. Oh, it is. There's no, you can do everything perfectly right, and you're still going to see some inconsistency. Like, there's no way to be perfectly consistent with your income.
Yeah.
I think too, like the building a family and trying to, build a business. There's a different level of like why, but not just why, and like you're trying to get to this point, but it's like, at least for me, I started thinking about, I want to be able to tell my kids I've done the right thing. I want to say that I've done my very best to do the right thing in difficult situations.
Yeah.
Becoming a parent, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm a role model now. I'm not just I'm not just doing this for myself. There's a different level of like introspection. You'll look at things, and that one day, they may hear things of how things have gone and how we've built our lives. And that was a big part of it, looking back on things too, was like, am I proud of what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Am I, like, do I know I've tried my hardest? Do I know I've put everything out there?
Yeah.
Even if it fails, even if it's not going to work, like, can
And it's
I
not all
say,
gonna work.
and a lot of things don't work.
Yeah.
Can I say I've tried my absolute best and I've put my best foot forward and I've done the right thing, even if it's, maybe not making us a priority at times. Like, there's a lot of difficult, decisions that are made through hard times. And at least for me, becoming a parent, that was one thing that certainly switched, that I wanted to be able to make sure I could say that.
Yes, and I think that will touch on maybe where we go with our next episode, which is that ability to look at yourself in the mirror, making business decisions, like whether we call them ethics or morals or whatever. The working hard is a huge part of it. Did you commit to this thing that you're doing? Did you show up? Did you do what you could for your family and for yourself and for your partner? But also, did you do it in a way that you can sleep with? Like, did you do it? And I think we both probably have made decisions that didn't always put ourselves first, but we did it with that understanding that was a way that we were going to be able to sleep at night, that we we were going to succeed or fail doing things the right way, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a fast track. That's not the fastest point to success. But I do believe, and I think we both do believe, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think we've had this conversation enough, that that's really the only way. And that it does build something long-lasting. That it does build, whether it's your reputation, but it's also the people you learn to work with, both to work with and to not work with, to who's worth betting on. But also it was a pivotal strengthening piece to us together, to how we got to see each other work, how you got to see how we treated business relationships, how we made decisions, where we put the energy in. And for a number of years now, it was one in, one out, right? I mean, I left, you were pregnant with Brinley, and this is before she was even born. And I pushed to adopt this wingnut rescue dog.
Rodney adopted a dog. We already had a dog.
He's going to outlive me too, that fucker.
We just moved into a new house with no fence. I had Aiden at home, and I was like 6 months pregnant. And we got this rescue dog, Zach, who is still with us today.
Man. I know.
He's
I
like
said
15 now.
Me.
And this dog was not house trained. No. And Rodney left for, you were gone for weeks.
Yeah, weeks. Like, radio tour.
Weeks,
we did a radio tour. We went out to the East Coast and just crazy. But that's what it was now for a number of years. It was one in, one out. Thankfully, there was always one in, which is something that we really prided ourselves in being able to be available for our kids when we could. And we were lucky that we could do that. Not everybody has that ability, and so we paid the price for it as well.
Yes.
Because if one of us was there, often that meant the other one wasn't, and so one of us got to experience certain things, and not always the other one, right?
Yeah.
Now in balance, it was worth it, and that's what we chose. But you know, and you had to put a lot of time into building your career, and I was building a business that wasn't going to pay anything for a while. And if it worked, great, but it wasn't going to be a cash-flowing business. Yeah. It was more of a high-risk, high-reward, pie-in-the-sky thing that opened other doors and other relationships and things that have paid off and still is. Yeah. But it was not going to be a quick return, right?
And, like, being self-employed, that is the biggest, has to be one of the largest challenges, just how long it takes to build a foundation of your name, of your business. And I think, you know, we both probably definitely underestimated that.
Yes.
And like that's where people get frustrated and they throw in the towel and they quit. And I totally get it because you still have to also pay your bills and survive.
Yes.
But also it can mean maybe just doing things a little differently instead of giving up entirely. You know, we've both taken side jobs early on. We did all kinds of random things at times we needed to pay the bills or whatever it was. So, you know, but never giving up on that. That was the goal, was to be able to control our days and times and schedules. Yeah. And for us, that doesn't mean like we only work 3 hours a day or something. It means we work a lot. We work a lot, but we weave it into how we want to live our days.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was always the goal.
Yes, absolutely. And Sean, who's involved with us in our Wealth Share now as a trustee, he says this all the time, and I think we just instinctively felt this way. Long-term plans with long-term people, that you're building things for long-term. But it's hilarious. We underestimated how long it would take, and we were still estimating it would take a while.
Yes.
Which is the hilarious thing, because we still knew it wouldn't be quick, but it still took longer than we would have wanted or liked or hoped. Yeah. And so if you don't have that long-term vision with what you're doing, you're really going to get caught off guard with what it takes.
Well, look at realtors, how quickly they come in and out of the business, right?
I mean, that's
getting past even the 2-year mark, never mind the 5-year mark, is really different. That's just one little example. Or like restaurants.
Restaurants, I was just going to say, that's I think that's a whole episode as well, because these are things with short shelf lives for a reason. And there's a lot of energy at the beginning, and you have your network, and you hit that network up, and then what? Yeah. Then what? And that's what people don't always think about with these kind of careers, or like
dealing
restaurants.
With disappointment.
Yes. And setbacks and feedback, right?
Negative feedback, or no's, and I think at least for us that has been one thing that's been helpful, is we both understand that. Like I actually don't know if I would have been able to, you know, get to this point in my career if you didn't understand that. Like that was a huge thing. And you also seeing in me what I didn't see in myself.
Yeah, I would say that
I would
if
say.
I could give myself credit for one thing with
yourself
our
credit for
relationship,
lots of things.
well, we'll work on that. But
that's a big,
one thing
huge
is,
one you
yes,
did for me.
is,
Absolutely.
and I have always had supreme confidence in you, like unwavering, supreme, complete confidence in whatever it was that you're doing. To the point where it was so reflexive, I don't know if I always communicated it that it was there enough, right? That's something that you learn as you go. But it was just so instinctive that I sometimes would probably not say it as much as I could in that way. So, but you have to have that. And you have the same back for me. I mean, even though it was crazy and stressful and sometimes it would be whatever, you still had this confidence that I was going to be able to figure it out, given the time and the energy. And then that's also when I get this diagnosis for being bipolar, and I'm going through trying to figure out my mental health, and that caused, disruption in my life and how I was going about my day, and figuring out more treatments and going through,
that was a whole
fistfuls of
journey.
things. And that's, we won't get into that, but right
I
now,
think one thing out of that's really that people could take away is getting really comfortable with believing what other people say are your best traits.
Yeah.
Like other people that know you well will tell you what they have the most confidence in you about, or whatever that thing is. But it can be hard to believe it.
Yeah.
So practicing believing it and taking it in and actually, believing it yourself is a game changer.
Yeah. And accepting the feedback, like the good and the bad, but accepting it, the good, is sometimes hard for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, you remember the bad.
You remember the bad, and that's fine. And you got to remember the bad,
more
too.
like golf.
Yeah, you got to remember the good shots, yeah. And then there are people out there that don't take the bad in at all.
Yes.
And I wouldn't recommend that either. Like, you definitely need to take the feedback of all sorts. But I think a lot of people that have good hearts and are trying to do right, they have a harder time accepting the good, taking in the good and believing it and processing it the right way. And you need to be able to do that to succeed. Just as you need to learn from the mistakes, you need to learn from your strengths and the things that you are good at. And then you can make the most of those and be more effective with them. And so,
for
that's...
me in my brain, that's been harder to internalize and fully believe.
Yeah.
So.
And you continue to work on it. And you've come a long ways, but you're still working on it.
Absolutely.
And you probably will, as I will, for the rest of our lives. Like, our health issues are not... I joke it's terminal, but it's more, there's no solution. There's no, just like with what you're dealing with. These are challenges we're going to have for the rest of our lives. Regardless. So then how do you work them into your life and take that same attitude and continue to push yourself and challenge yourself to grow and all that kind of, cliche stuff, but it has to be that way. So it's like, we made progress, but we're going to
still
continue to work on it.
That's right.
And even just doing this podcast is part of working on it and communicating these things.
Yeah. We'll see how it resonates.
We'll see.
With
we'll see.
People.
And
let us know.
Yeah. I'd love to hear the feedback.
Please let us know the feedback. If
Shut up, Rodney. You're talking too much. That's great feedback. But and I think that's a good origin story segment there. We kind of got to, we've got a family, we've got our careers, we've got our businesses, and then down the road we would launch WellShare together, which has been an exciting evolution. We did these individual kind of pathways. We're always supporting each other, always,
And we still are.
We still are doing those things.
Yeah.
We still have Famous is still going and doing really fun things and incredible things. And Phipps Group has grown. Phipps, started as Phipps and then was Phipps Group, and that's going to evolve as well. Yeah. But then WellShare was the thing that we did together, officially on paper. And that was another step, and we'll talk about that more at a later date. But I think that's a good spot to kind of tie off the origin, the start, some of the early obstacles, and obviously we could talk a lot more in depth about those things, and maybe at some point we will, like you said, bring in your dad as a guest speaker
we'll
to that.
Bring in some guest speakers.
The side,
our kids want to come on too.
Yeah, bring the kids, bring Grandpa, and he can tell the story about how we almost moved to Mexico one day, if not for his adventure.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. I'll leave that one there. So,
right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Built this empire from the ground, never backing down, never bound. 2 hearts, one vision, we stay true. In the thick of it, in the Phipps of it.